Hey guys, it is Chad here from the Battle Warrior Podcast, and I'm just letting all you listeners know that the Battle Warrior Podcast episodes will be available across all podcast platforms, guys. So sit back, relax, and enjoy this brand new episode today.
Please beware. The voice in your head is a threat.
All right. Hey, guys, welcome to Battle Warrior Podcast. We have a phenomenal guest joining the show, something that's very close to my heart because what she experienced, actually, my sister experienced. And secondly, what she does every day, every weekend. Actually, a lot of things she does is actually a lot. What is on my side of it here, guys. So welcome Fitz Koehler to the show. She is the owner of Fitzness business. She is runner, author, guys, a big long list of phenomenal things she is doing. Cancer crusher, speaker, marathon runner. The most important thing here, guys, is I want to focus on her awesome brand new book that I actually would love to get my hands on. It's called My Noisy Cancer Comeback. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Chad. Thank you for having me.
And we were sitting here just discussing on I want to say a hub that we talk about with all the podcasters and all that stuff here, but I'm going through your list. I'm like, man, it's like a split because half of it's mine, half it's my sister's. And
okay.
Especially having Breck 2 run in our family, and I will be public about that,
Sure.
that cancer is a repeated thing that's starting to show up here in general, everywhere.
Yeah.
But the cool thing about it is defeating it and then having the mental toughness to keep going and creating your own life here. So I want to tap into creating your own life. So tell my listeners exactly how many marathons you've done already.
I have done exactly one marathon. One full marathon is the Boston Marathon, and I ran it a little over a year after finishing chemo.
So coming from nothing, so pretty much starting on empty.
Yeah. Well, as far as racing goes, I've done a bazillion races of all different distances, just one marathon. But yeah, oh my gosh, was I brutalized by my treatment. Everybody has a different path. There's a lot of similarities between, cancer treatment. I call it the treatment triathlon. It's chemo, radiation, surgery. There's all sorts of other things that you can or can't have type thing. But I had the treatment triathlon and it beat the living hell out of me. I had 15 months of chemo and the hits kept coming. I also had 33 rounds of radiation and multiple surgeries, but I hit that point about halfway through my treatment. So I call the first six rounds of chemo were my mean chemo. And then I had 15 more rounds of a lesser mean, but still mean chemo. I nicknamed it Godzilla. In fact, my book is all full of nicknames for everything, but I went from 124 pounds pre-cancer to 110 pounds. And, I was bald and gray. I was violently ill for a very, very long time. And I had continued to do productive things as I could throughout my treatment. I was always stretching and walking when I could and just staying active. Plus, I was traveling the country announcing races through the entire thing. But once I finished my surgery and I got a little boost of energy, I thought, okay, I'm going to go back to the gym and I'm going to lift. And I brought my 110-pound scrawny body. I'm almost 5'6", so I was close to skeletal. And I sat down on the machine, and it was one of those things where I had to keep lowering the pin. And what the result was is I had lost 80% of my strength. Now, I knew I was weak. I was having a hard time opening water bottles, opening car doors, but to see that pin constantly drop, I thought, holy crap. For the normal person who wasn't a fitness expert, I might have cried and ran out of the gym, got in my car and went home and gave up. And I imagine a lot of cancer patients have that response because what do they know? Their body's been ravaged. They're a shell of who they formerly were. They have officially hit rock bottom. And now where do you go from there, right? You try to make a step forward and you're lost. And so that's where these next two books coming in. So the book you mentioned, My Noisy Cancer Comeback, that's my memoir. And that was released in 2020. And that's been extraordinarily successful. And cancer patients love it because it gives them the mental fortitude. It's a lesson in perspective, passions, perseverance, and a good opportunity to laugh your ass off at my misadventures during cancer care. But these books, the first one is Your Healthy Cancer Comeback, Sick to Strong. And it is a guidebook, a blueprint for cancer patients and survivors to dig their way out of that hole. I mean, hopefully prevent the decline. If I can get it in the hands of a cancer patient when they're diagnosed, boy, we're going to work some wonders so they don't end up 80% weaker than they were when they started. But it's the everything. It's nutrition and exercise. And hey, if you can exercise standing up, great. Here's 100+ photos on how to do that. If you can't exercise standing up, here's dozens of photos of things you can do seated. And if you can't sit down, here's things you can do in bed. It's got full pictorials. Here's stretches you can do in the shower. I hit people at every angle of health, of fitness. And, not only will this help rebuild their body and their mind, but exercise and quality nutrition is proven to A, prevent cancer in the first place. B, if you get it, it will help increase your chances of remission. And C, if you take good care of yourself, you are far less likely to have a recurrence. So it's important stuff.
Yeah. And I wasn't around it every day, but I was definitely in conversation with my sister when she was beating breast cancer. And the thing that she was talking about is I do remember this phone call blankly where I think she said like her first time going in, she was at like 5 millimeters or whatever the situation was. Then the next time she went in, she was down to 0.5. And the doctor's like, how the hell did that happen?
Progress.
And I think it was like right at the beginning of the chemo. So it was like, boom, chemo. But for her she goes, okay, first and foremost, the traditional system. And we're going to say traditional. And then there's the Eastern Western culture, whatever the situation is. She goes, first of all, I told the devil, go fuck off. She's like, I'm gonna go
and hurt.
Yeah. And secondly, and she goes, I actually wanted to add in an additional route of treatment. So she's like, for me, she goes, doctors want this, but she goes, okay, I studied, okay, what greens can I take? What rice mix can I take? And all that stuff. And she's like, I attacked it both ways. And she's like, on top of that, she's like, yes, she has her own system built into it of like her normal stuff and all that. But she goes, I was proactive and I attacked it.
Well, so there's some of the things is the whole first chapter of Your Healthy Cancer Comeback is about control. And because what happens when you're diagnosed, all of a sudden you have no control. Your life is spinning out of control and all you want is some control, right? And so you have to take it where you can get it. And so there are those mental things where I tell you, cancer is a stressor like no other. It is an inordinate amount of stress. I've never experienced anything like that in all of my years combined. The weight on my chest was sometimes unbearable. And I can tell you that I did cry every day. It was nerve-wracking. Even when I believed I was going to be cured, just watching myself fall apart or the pain or suffering just was difficult. But there were things I can control, that perspective, that passion, those positivity, that went a long way. I would reset myself. I would steer myself in a better direction. And I would just sit in my bathroom and I'd cry it out and then I'd say, okay, Fitz, put on your big girl panties and get out there and go be productive. And I was. But the other thing is when it comes to things like exercise, nutrition, quality sleep, those complementary care like physical therapy, mental health counseling, sexual health counseling, there is no negative. I truly believe in chemotherapy. Sucks, but it works for most of us, right? Radiation, highly effective. It's undeniable how beneficial those things can be. But there's always or often a side effect, right? There's a downside. And I think I got all the downsides. But with exercise, there is no negative. Especially if you do it wisely and make progress with baby steps. There's no negative. There's no there's nothing negative about eating raspberries, right? It's only beneficial to your immune system without doing any harm. And so when you're given the option to control the things you control what you can up here as much as you can. And then you start controlling what you put in your body. There's food that helps and there's food that hurts. And I think that's actually the title of one of my chapters, food that helps versus food that hurts. And you be the judge, you know what helps. It's stuff we all learned in kindergarten. I fill the book with statistics and studies that prove to you that processed meats are harmful and, lean cuts of chicken might be helpful, but yeah, control what you can. And that goes for cancer patients and it goes for everybody else too.
And she's giving the big old smile when she's saying that here. So take control of your life, you guys. That's the fine line is what she's saying here. So where can all my listeners go find all this phenomenal information?
So the books are sold anywhere books are sold. However, I prefer people come to Fitzness.com. So it's FITZ as in zebra, NESS.com. That's my home base for everything. But the Cancer Comeback 3-packs available there. You can buy the books individually as well. My online course. And then I have tons of free information there. And so I'm that fitness expert who I don't feel like I have to nickel and dime consumers because corporations pay my salary. So I give away a whole heck of a lot for free. I've never sold a pill, a powder, a supplement, any sort of snake oil. It's just honest science and things that you have the ability to control, and you should, because as you know, Chad, life is really good when you take care of yourself, right?
Absolutely. And the processes that you learn through the whole process of getting control is life changing and life altering. So definitely know it's a phenomenal. I can't even speak right now here, guys. Okay. My tongue has just completely stopped, but
that's all right.
I was going to say thank you very much for joining the show, and we will make a nice, beautiful, compact podcast episode for that.
Oh, I appreciate it. Thanks for having me, Chad.
Absolutely.